Imagine a world where the shadows hold more danger than the light, where the promise of peace is merely a disguise for the instruments of war. What if I told you that in the dead of night, on a desolate back road at the very edge of Burkina Faso, 47 trucks packed with deadly weapons were intercepted? These weren't just any weapons, they were instruments of chaos, not defense, intended for something far more sinister. Stay with us until the very end, because the truth you're about to uncover may irrevocably shake your trust in everything you thought you knew. Subscribe now to stand with the truth and the unwavering power of a new Africa rising, an Africa determined to forge its own destiny. Just 3 nights ago, under the shroud of a moonless sky, in the Canary region, perilously close to Burkina Faso's border with Togo, a seemingly insignificant event ignited a chain reaction that would reverberate across the continent. Midnight. Border Patrol officers, their senses honed by years of vigilance, detected an anomaly, a convoy, long and silent, creeping along a stretch of borderline where even the nocturnal creatures hesitated to tread. The sheer scale of the convoy, coupled with its clandestine timing, immediately triggered an intense surge of suspicion. Captain Musaya, the seasoned local border commander, wasted not a single precious second. He raised the alarm, the urgent message rippling up the chain of command, each link tightening with anticipation. Initial intelligence reports, deceptively calm, claimed the convoy was transporting humanitarian supplies. But for those with discerning eyes, something simply didn't add up. Why would humanitarian aid, a beacon of hope, move under the impenetrable cloak of night? And why, in a region riddled with well-maintained main highways, would they deliberately choose to navigate treacherous back roads, designed to avoid scrutiny? When President Ibrahim Traoré, a leader renowned for his sharp instincts and unyielding resolve, received this fragmented report, he needed no further convincing. His gut feeling, a compass of unwavering accuracy, pointed towards a far graver truth. He picked up the line, his voice cutting through the silence of the night, reaching General Ibrahim Zerbo, the formidable head of the Special Forces. General, Traoré's voice was firm, resolute: intercept that convoy. But act with extreme care. This may not be simple smuggling. This smells of something far more dangerous, a plot meticulously woven in the shadows. The response was immediate, a symphony of coordinated precision. Helicopters, dark silhouettes against the starry sky, lifted off with a low thrum. Drones, their eyes unblinking, took flight, their digital gaze piercing the darkness. An ambush, meticulously planned, was laid with strategic precision. The 47-truck convoy, a lumbering behemoth of deception, rolled forward, utterly oblivious to the steel trap that awaited. At precisely 4 o'clock in the morning, the pre-dawn stillness was shattered. The road ahead, once an open invitation, was now blocked by an impenetrable wall of armed vehicles and unwavering resolve. The convoy juddered to a halt. Panic, a wild and untamed beast, erupted among the drivers. Some, in a desperate, futile attempt, tried to flee, their fear-driven instincts urging them towards an impossible escape. But it was already too late. The net had closed with an unforgiving snap, and every single driver, their faces etched with terror and disbelief, was captured. Then came the real, gut-wrenching shock. The first truck's cargo bay was opened, its flimsy seals yielding to the force of a crowbar. And what spilled out, cascading from sacks innocuously labeled humanitarian aid, made even the most seasoned soldiers freeze, their hardened expressions melting into disbelief. Modern automatic weapons. AK-47s. M16 rifles. Hand grenades. Rocket launchers. Each truck, not a conveyance of aid, but a mobile arsenal, a harbinger of untold destruction. Captain Kabori, his voice trembling with a mixture of awe and horror, called in to report, "Mr. President, you won't believe this. There's enough firepower here to arm a full battalion. This isn't a smuggling ring. Someone's preparing for war inside Burkina Faso. A war that would consume us all." Traoré's reply, his voice cold, firm, and utterly unwavering, cut through the static: "Secure everything. Every bullet, every box. Leave nothing. And make the drivers talk. We need names. We need motives. The truth, no matter how ugly, must be unearthed. Unveiling the masterminds, a conspiracy unravels. Under the relentless scrutiny of interrogation, the true, horrifying scale of the operation slowly, painstakingly, began to surface. Most of the drivers, mere cogs in a larger, darker machine, had no idea what they were truly transporting. They were pawns, manipulated by unseen hands. But those who meticulously planned the routes, those who orchestrated this ballet of destruction, they were professionals. Serious ones. Each of the 47 trucks had been assigned a different, circuitous route. They had departed at staggered intervals over 2 long nights, a deliberate strategy to evade detection, only to converge near the border, forming a single, menacing convoy just moments before entering Burkina Faso. On the second day of the intensive investigation, new, even more shocking discoveries emerged, each revelation a fresh wound to the nation's fragile peace. Detailed forensic searches of the trucks revealed desperate attempts to erase the serial numbers on the weapons, a futile effort to sever their origins. But the Burkina Intelligence Unit, employing cutting-edge forensics, managed to painstakingly recover several of those critical markings. That's when the true origin of the weapons began to raise not just eyebrows, but a profound sense of alarm and suspicion. Some of them bore the grim hallmarks of the brutal civil war in Libya, testament to the continent's open wounds. Others were meticulously traced back to past, forgotten battles in Yemen, whispering tales of distant conflicts. And still others were brand new, pristine, never used, straight from undisclosed factories, their metallic gleam a chilling contrast to their intended purpose. The estimated total value of this monstrous cache, over 100 million United States dollars. The question, burning ember in the sterile interrogation room, incinerated all other thoughts: who paid that much money? And why? President Traoré, his face a mask of grim determination, immediately convened the National Security Council. The full, chilling inventory of the seized weapons was presented, projected onto a large screen, each item a testament to the audacity of the conspirators: 15,000 AK-47 rifles, 5,000 M16 rifles, 3 million rounds of ammunition, 50,000 hand grenades, 1,500 rocket launchers, 200 anti-aircraft missiles, and 20 tons of high-powered explosives. Defense Minister General Sadou Traoré, a man accustomed to the grim realities of war, sat in stunned, disbelieving silence. You could invade a small country with these, he finally managed to articulate, his voice a strained whisper. These are not for defense. They were assembled, meticulously gathered, to stage a coup or spark a full-blown civil war, conflagration that would consume our nation from within. Interior Minister Ousmane Coulibaly, visibly shaken, added, "Mr. President, if these weapons had been distributed, even partially, our nation would have turned into a bloodbath overnight. Terrorist factions could have waged war for years, fueled by this arsenal, or opposition militias could have overthrown the government in one swift, brutal strike." Traoré stood up, his voice cold, sharp, but undeniably forceful. "Friends," he declared, his gaze sweeping across the faces of his most trusted advisors, "this is no accident. This is a deliberate, calculated attempt to do to us what they already did to Libya, to Syria, and to Yemen. But this time, we were not asleep. We disrupted their entire nefarious plan, exposed it for the world to see." At that precise, pivotal moment, Intelligence Chief Commandant Ouedraogo stepped forward, his expression grave. "Mr. President," he announced, his voice steady, "one of the captured drivers has finally started talking. He says the final destination was secret warehouses inside Ouagadougou. From there, the weapons would be distributed across the country, a web of death waiting to unfurl." Upon hearing this, Traoré made a swift but utterly firm decision, one that would define the coming days. "Begin a large-scale operation," he commanded. "Sweep Ouagadougou. Search every suspicious warehouse. Find out who is waiting for these weapons, who craves this chaos. And most importantly, track the financiers. Unmask the puppet masters. The net tightens, exposures and international ramifications." At dawn the very next day, the operation began, a meticulously coordinated series of simultaneous raids launched across 23 locations in the capital. And in 17 of those warehouses, more weapons were found, the sheer amount staggering, chilling testament to the scale of the conspiracy. But even more alarming than the quantity of arms were the names of those arrested on site: former ministers, retired generals, prominent business figures, and, shockingly, foreign diplomats. Their only common trait? Each one was a vocal, outspoken, yet it wasn't until the fourth day of the relentless investigation that the biggest shockwave rippled through the nation. One of the arrested businessmen, a man named Francois Bonkango, agreed to talk. His words, delivered in a trembling confession, landed like a live grenade in the tense chamber of the interrogation room. Bonkango, his face ashen, told his story. This plan was made months ago. Foreign powers promised us unwavering support. We would overthrow Traoré. A pro-Western government, pliable and compliant, would be installed in his place. The weapons, Bonkango stammered, were brought precisely for that reason. To ensure the success of the coup, to crush any resistance. Traoré, his gaze piercing, leaned forward, his voice a low, dangerous growl. Which foreign powers? Bonkango hesitated, beads of sweat forming on his brow, tracing paths down his temples. But finally, the dam broke. He spoke, the words a torrent of betrayal. Meetings were held in Accra. There were participants from Abidjan as well. The instructions came directly from Paris. And final approval was given in Washington. The room fell into a chilling, palpable silence. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Every official, every security chief, every hardened soldier was in a state of profound shock, the weight of the revelation pressing down on them. Traoré simply said, "Continue." Bonkango, swallowing hard, carried on, his voice a monotone of confession. The plan, he revealed, was detailed, meticulously crafted, and brutal in its execution. First, a series of terrorist attacks would be staged, designed to sow panic and discord among the populace. The public, gripped by fear, would then be manipulated to rise up in protest, their genuine grievances exploited for nefarious purposes. And collaborators inside the military, carefully cultivated and strategically placed, would then move to execute a swift, decisive coup. Even more horrifying details surfaced, the chilling code name of the plot, Operation Restore Democracy, a cruel irony. The total budget allocated for this grand scheme, $200 million United States dollars. And the weapons? They were just the beginning, the physical manifestation of a deeper, more insidious agenda. Among the names Bonkango provided were truly astonishing: Western embassy staff, representatives of global corporations, and even employees from so-called international organizations, all of them intricately woven into this web of deceit. In response to this shocking, irrefutable information, Traoré made a decision that would undoubtedly go down in the annals of history. He called for an emergency press conference, his intent clear: the world, the entire world, had to know what was truly happening in Africa. They had to witness, firsthand, how the continent was being deliberately destabilized, its sovereignty undermined for the selfish gains of others. The press conference was broadcast live on national television, its reach extending far beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Behind Traoré, a towering, grim display of the confiscated weapons was meticulously arranged, grim, undeniable proof of the truth he was about to unveil. The sight of it shocked every viewer, terrified many, its undeniable reality a stark contrast to the narratives of peace. Traoré stepped up to the podium, his posture erect, his gaze unwavering, and began to speak, his voice resonating with a quiet authority that commanded attention. "Dear Burkina brothers and to the world watching," he began, 3 days ago, we intercepted the largest arms smuggling attempt in our nation's history. But this was not just arms smuggling. This was a coordinated, cynical conspiracy against our people and our sovereignty. A direct attack on our right to self-determination. He held up a folder of documents, its contents heavy with damning evidence. "Here," he declared, his voice cutting through the silence, "is the proof. 47 trucks of weapons. Total value, $100 million. Their aim? To destabilize Burkina Faso. To turn brother against brother. To install a puppet regime loyal to outside powers, a regime that would dance to their tune." Traoré raised his voice, sharper now, unforgiving. "Where did these weapons come from? I cannot yet reveal every detail, the investigation is ongoing, but I will say this: the imperialists still want to control Africa. They still seek to exploit our resources, to dictate our future. But they will not succeed, because this time, we are awake. We are vigilant. We are united." Journalists in the hall, their initial shock giving way to a frenzy of questions, began to speak over one another, eager for answers. The correspondent from CNN, his face a mixture of disbelief and curiosity, stood up. "Which countries are behind these weapons?" he asked, his voice echoing in the vast hall. Traoré remained composed, his composure a testament to his strength. "The investigation is still ongoing," he replied, his gaze steady, "but some of the weapons were manufactured in NATO member countries." The BBC correspondent followed quickly, his voice urgent. "So, who are the leaders of this conspiracy?" Traoré nodded slowly, his expression grim. 17 individuals have been arrested, he said, his voice firm. Among them are former ministers and retired generals. Informants are talking, and soon, all of the truth will be revealed, laid bare for the world to see. Then came a question from Al Jazeera. Their correspondent focused on the broader implications. How will this affect regional security in West Africa? Traoré answered without hesitation, his response a powerful declaration that resonated far beyond the confines of the press conference. "This is not an attack only on Burkina Faso," he declared, his voice rising with conviction. "It is an attack on the entire continent. All of Africa." Similar conspiracies are already in motion in Mali, in Niger, and in Guinea. "We must now act as one, a united front against these dark forces." A journalist from the Russian press asked next, his voice tinged with concern, "Will you be increasing your security measures?" Traoré said firmly, "Absolutely. Our army is fully on alert. Our borders are under the tightest control. But more importantly, our people, they are with us. Their unity is our strongest defense." The most striking, unforgettable moment of the entire press conference came when one of the detainees' confessions was broadcast live. François Boncango, the businessman who had dared to speak, appeared on the screen, his face stained with tears, his voice shaking with raw emotion and profound regret. "They deceived us," he said, his words a desperate plea for understanding. "They told us we would bring democracy, peace. But in truth, we would have divided our country, plunged it into civil war." Traoré is right, he continued, his voice barely a whisper, "We became traitors. I apologize with all my heart to my people. Forgive me." When the video ended, a heavy, almost sacred silence filled the hall. Traoré, his voice now imbued with a quiet dignity, continued speaking. "Here is the real face," he said, his gaze sweeping across the faces of the assembled journalists. "These people, they were selling their homeland for money, for power, for a deceptive promise of influence. But they failed. And let me tell you this, they will continue to fail. Their schemes will always be thwarted by the will of the people. A nation awakens, solidarity and a new dawn." While the press conference was still unfolding, captivating the attention of the world, something truly remarkable was simultaneously unfolding outside the confines of the building. Thousands had gathered in the streets, a spontaneous outpouring of unwavering support for President Traoré and the values he embodied. Banners, hand-painted with defiant messages, were held high, fluttering in the gentle breeze. Slogans, chanted with a rhythmic intensity, reverberated through the air, "Long live Traoré! Down with imperialism!" When Traoré finally emerged from the press conference, he addressed the assembled multitude directly, his voice amplified by a makeshift sound system, reaching every corner of the square. "My dear citizens," he declared, his voice filled with a profound sense of gratitude, "thanks to your strength, your unwavering support, and your steadfast vigilance, we stopped this conspiracy. Thanks to your unwavering vigilance, Burkina Faso stands safe and proud. As long as we remain united, as long as we stand shoulder to shoulder, no enemy, no matter how powerful, can ever defeat us." Young people, their faces alight with a newfound hope, lit torches and marched together, their defiant steps echoing the rhythm of a rising nation. Women, their voices clear and strong, sang the national anthem, its lyrics imbued with a deeper meaning than ever before. The elderly, their wisdom etched onto their faces, prayed under the open sky, their silent supplications a powerful testament to their faith in their nation's future. Meanwhile, messages of solidarity, a powerful tide of support, poured in from across the African continent, each one a testament to the growing spirit of Pan-Africanism. Mali's leader, Colonel Assimi Goïta, declared, "Brother Traoré is the true guardian of Africa. We too are tightening our borders, our vigilance heightened by this shocking revelation. Niger's leader, General Abdurrahmane Chiani, echoed the sentiment, his voice firm, this conspiracy is against all of us. It is time we share intelligence, forge unbreakable bonds. Africa must take charge of her own security, her destiny firmly in her own hands. Guinea's leader, Colonel Momadi Doumbouya, declared, his words resonating with a powerful conviction, there is no place for arms barons in Africa. Traoré's courage, his unwavering commitment to sovereignty, should be an example to all of us, a beacon guiding our path. Senegal's leader, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, sent a message of unwavering solidarity, emphasizing the collective responsibility. As the African Union, we must urgently tighten the arms embargo. Our continent is not a weapons depot, a dumping ground for the instruments of war. Even Chad's leader, President Mahamat Devietno, voiced his support, recognizing the broader implications of the plot. We must act together in the fight against terrorism. These weapons, had they reached their intended targets, could have ended up in the hands of extremists, tearing apart the fabric of our societies. From Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni, a veteran statesman, stated, "My young brother Traoré did a great job. Africa can and must ensure its own security, its own stability." From South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa added, his words carrying the weight of collective experience, this event should serve as a crucial lesson for every African nation. Armed smugglers and those who sponsor them must be exposed, their networks dismantled, and their crimes punished with the full force of justice. On the fifth day of the massive operation, new developments surfaced, each revelation adding a grim layer to the unfolding drama. Documents meticulously recovered from seized computers revealed just how far the conspiracy truly reached. It wasn't just about Burkina Faso, the entire Sahel region, a vast and volatile expanse, was targeted. The files held shocking details, chilling in their precision. There was a separate, insidious plan for each country in the region. In Burkina Faso, it was Traoré. In Mali, President Assimi Goïta. In Niger, President Abdurrahmane Chiani. Each leader would be removed, each legitimate government replaced with pliable, pro-Western puppets, their strings pulled by unseen hands in distant capitals. Then came the bombshell, the chilling financial dimension of the plot, the total budget, a staggering $1 billion United States dollars. Investigators, their determination unyielding, were already meticulously tracing the source of these illicit funds. Some pointed towards powerful, shadowy entities in Gulf countries. Others, disturbingly, pointed towards Europe. This shocking discovery, this blatant attempt to manipulate and control an entire continent, begged a crucial question. How do you think Africa should respond to conspiracies funded from abroad, designed to undermine its very fabric? Leave a comment below, and let your voice be heard, for Africa's future hinges on collective action. A continent transformed, from death to dignity. Traoré's courage, his unwavering vision, and his steadfast defense of a sovereign Africa rippled through the continent, inspiring a new generation of leaders. He held a second press conference, but this time, his tone had shifted. It was sharper, fiercer, imbued with an unyielding resolve. The masks have fallen, he declared, his voice ringing with defiance. Those who wish to recolonize Africa should understand one thing, and understand it clearly: we are the grandchildren of Thomas Sankara. We will not kneel. We will not surrender our dignity, our sovereignty, our future. He held up the newly recovered documents, even more striking, more damning than before. Inside was a full, meticulously detailed list of the government that would have been installed after the planned coup. Ministers had already been selected, their roles pre-assigned. Tasks had been divided, the spoils of a stolen nation pre-allocated. Even the very first executive actions, the decrees that would have fundamentally altered Burkina Faso's trajectory, had been drafted, ready for implementation. Traoré slammed the folder shut, the sound echoing through the hall. "Look how brazen they are," he exclaimed, his voice tinged with righteous anger. "They divided ministries before even overthrowing us. But they forgot one thing: the people of Burkina Faso are the rightful owners of these lands. Their will, their unity, is our ultimate defense." Among the newly arrested were also foreign nationals, their presence a stark reminder of the international scope of the conspiracy: 3 French, 2 British, 1 American, and, interestingly, 2 Israelis. All of them held diplomatic passports, yet their actions were anything but diplomatic. Their interrogation immediately created an international crisis, as the implicated governments, their reputations now tainted, demanded the immediate release of their citizens. But Traoré, his resolve unshaken, refused. Having a diplomatic passport does not grant you the freedom to commit crimes against our nation, against our people, he stated coldly, his voice a clear warning. On the sixth day, the court process officially began, a testament to Burkina Faso's commitment to justice. The detainees, their faces gaunt, their spirits broken, were brought before the judge. The charges were severe, reflecting the gravity of their crimes, attempting to overthrow the state, establishing a terrorist organization, arms smuggling, and even treason. The courtroom was packed, citizens having come from far and wide to witness justice being served, to see the perpetrators held accountable. The defendants looked broken, their defiance replaced by despair. Some cried openly, their tears a belated acknowledgement of their misdeeds. Some expressed regret, their voices barely audible. But it was too late. The prosecutor stood, a formidable figure of justice, and began to read the indictment. The evidence, painstakingly gathered and meticulously presented, was overwhelming, leaving no room for doubt. So overwhelming, in fact, that even the defense lawyers struggled to respond, their arguments crumbling under the weight of irrefutable proof. Audio recordings, chilling in their clarity. Video footage, capturing clandestine meetings. Bank transfer receipts, tracing the flow of illicit funds. Signed confessions, sealing their guilt. They filled the case file, each piece a damning indictment. Meanwhile, international pressure mounted, a concerted effort by those who sought to protect the perpetrators. Several Western countries threatened Burkina Faso with crippling economic sanctions, attempting to coerce Traoré into releasing the foreign nationals. But Traoré stood firm, his voice resolute, his gaze fixed on the horizon of a sovereign future. History will judge those who threaten us, who seek to undermine our justice system, he declared, his words resonating with a quiet strength. Then came words of powerful support from unexpected corners of the globe, a testament to the shifting geopolitical landscape. Putin's spokesman, his voice devoid of diplomatic niceties, stated unequivocally, every country has the right to secure its own safety. Traoré is leading a rightful struggle, a fight for self-determination. China went further, offering tangible assistance. We will donate security equipment to Burkina Faso, they announced, their message clear. We stand with them in their fight against terrorism, against those who seek to destabilize their nation. Turkey, a rising voice on the world stage, joined in, declaring, Africa's security is our security. Arms smuggling is a crime against humanity, a blight on the international community. Even Iran came forward with strength, its message a powerful echo of Traoré's own words, the imperialist powers must leave Africa alone. Democracy cannot be bought with bullets, it must be built from within, by the will of the people. Venezuela's leader, Nicolas Maduro, spoke with emotion, his words resonating with shared historical struggles. Brother Traoré is the new Bolivar, a hero, a true leader of the anti-imperialist cause, a beacon of hope for all those who seek freedom. On the seventh day, a week after the initial interception, Traoré appeared before his people once more. Thousands had gathered, their faces reflecting a mixture of relief, pride, and renewed determination. His speech, delivered with a quiet power, was historic, destined to be etched into the collective memory of the nation. Dear people, he began, his voice filled with a profound sense of shared accomplishment. A week ago, we stopped a major conspiracy against our beloved country. We seized 47 trucks of weapons, instruments of death. But even more than that, we disrupted the plot, we exposed those who wanted to divide us, to turn us against one another, to steal our future. The crowd erupted in thunderous applause, a wave of jubilation washing over the square. But Traoré wasn't finished. This victory, he declared, his voice rising with conviction, does not belong to us alone. It belongs to all of Africa. From now on, no one can play their games with guns on this continent. No one can make us puppets again, subject to their whims and desires. On the 10th day of the operation, Traoré made a surprise announcement, a deliberate act of transparency designed to further empower his people. He organized a public gathering in the very heart of Independence Square, a symbolic gesture of national unity. There, some of the seized weapons, raw and unyielding, were displayed openly for the very first time, a stark reminder of the danger averted. Tens of thousands came, a vast human tapestry of citizens, elders, students, soldiers, farmers, even children. They stood in stunned silence as they looked upon the mountains of arms and ammunition, their collective gasp a testament to the sheer magnitude of the threat. "How could so many weapons have entered our land?" someone whispered, their voice filled with disbelief. An old man wept openly, his tears a poignant reflection of past suffering. "They were going to kill our grandchildren with these," he cried, his voice choked with emotion. A young woman, her voice clear and strong, resonated with defiance. "If it weren't for Traoré," she shouted, "civil war would have torn us apart by now." Traoré stepped forward, his voice echoing across the square, reaching every ear, every heart. "This," he declared, his arm sweeping across the display of weapons, "is what I wanted to show you. This was the future our enemies planned for us. But we saw it coming. We stood together, united in our purpose. And because of that, we won. Our unity is our greatest weapon." Then, he made a powerful, inspiring announcement, a vision of transformation that ignited a fresh wave of hope. "Dear people," he said, his voice filled with pride, "with the money we earn from selling this scrap metal, these instruments of death, we will build 100 schools. We will open 50 health centers. And we will construct 1,000 kilometers of irrigation canals, transforming arid lands into fertile ground. Death tools will become life projects, symbols of our rebirth." The crowd erupted with unadulterated joy, a thunderous applause that reverberated across the city, testament to the power of a shared dream. At that precise, symbolic moment, a large cauldron, heated by a roaring fire, was brought to the stage. The melting began, a powerful, visual representation of transformation. One by one, the weapons, still bearing the grim marks of their destructive intent, were dropped into the searing flames. Steel turned to liquid, hatred transformed into purpose. From the very first melted weapon, a school bell was cast, its pristine gleam a stark contrast to the darkness from which it emerged. "When our children hear this bell every morning," Traoré said with profound pride, his voice thick with emotion, "they will hear the voice of peace, the promise of a brighter future." International observers watched in awe, their expressions a mixture of surprise and admiration. Journalists held their breath, their cameras flashing, capturing every poignant moment. A representative of the United Nations stepped forward, deeply moved, and said, "This is the first time in African history that weapons are being turned into symbols of peace, into instruments of hope. This is truly historic." The African Union's special representative was visibly moved to tears, his voice choked with emotion. Traoré didn't just seize weapons, he declared, his voice filled with conviction. He has changed Africa's destiny. And now, the whole continent will follow his example, inspired by his courage and vision. Meanwhile, the court process continued, the defendant's confessions revealing more terrible, intricate details every day. It became clear that the conspiracy was not limited to Burkina Faso but was, in fact, a huge, overarching plan covering all of West Africa, a meticulously crafted web of destabilization. The root of the seized weapons was finally revealed in full, a chilling journey of deception. They had originated in Eastern Europe, passed through dark, underground routes in Libya, and made their way into the Sahel under false humanitarian cover, their true purpose hidden beneath layers of deceit. This was not amateur work, it was carefully coordinated, meticulously planned, a professional operation executed by seasoned criminals. Every border crossing had its broker, every illicit permit had a price, every silence had been bought, a testament to the pervasive corruption that fueled this dark enterprise. What emerged was not just arms trafficking, it was an international network of corruption, of violence sold for profit, of chaos funded in the pristine, sterile environments of suits and boardrooms. Traoré did not stop at simply exposing it, he shared the irrefutable evidence directly with Interpol, ensuring that the perpetrators, no matter where they sought refuge, would face justice. And from Geneva to Pretoria, from Abuja to Moscow, the world began to take notice, a ripple effect of awareness. International arrest warrants were issued, bank accounts frozen, and assets seized. The web, one that had existed for decades, ensnaring nations in its insidious threads, was finally cracking, its brittle foundations crumbling under the weight of truth. And back in Burkina Faso, a momentous decision was made, one that would cement this pivotal event in the national consciousness. The 15th day of the operation would become a national holiday, not to celebrate war or conflict, but to remember a profound awakening. It would be known as National Awakening and Victory Day. Every year, schools would teach its significance, children would remember the story of courage and defiance, and future generations would be reminded, emphatically, that freedom is not a gift passively received, it is defended with unwavering resolve. Peace is not promised by others, it is earned through collective action and unwavering determination. In his final, impassioned address to the nation, Traoré stood proudly in front of the flag, in front of history itself. This victory, he declared, his voice resonating with a deep sense of purpose, is not only about seizing weapons. It is about Africa proving, finally and unequivocally, that we are capable of standing on our own feet. We can secure our borders. We can protect our people. We can determine our own future, free from external interference. And most of all, when we are united, when we stand as one, no empire, no bribe, no threat, no lie can defeat us, not with weapons, not with money, not with propaganda. Africa's time has come, a new dawn is breaking. And it had begun, truly begun, with the unwavering courage of a people and the resolute will of a visionary leader. Burkina Faso had become more than just a nation, it had become a mirror, reflecting the aspirations of a continent. It had become a spark, igniting a flame of hope. It had become a warning, a powerful message to those who sought to exploit and control. Other African nations watched, their eyes wide with understanding, and grasped the profound implications. We are only safe when we are awake, vigilant, and aware. We are only free when we stop renting our sovereignty, when we reclaim our agency. As Traoré had once eloquently said, Africa will no longer be a depot of death, a dumping ground for the instruments of war. Instead, it will be a depot of hope, a beacon of light, a repository of dreams, a testament to shared struggle and shared victory. And that depot, that transformed continent, would welcome the world, not with weapons, not with bombs, not with fear. It would open its doors with love, with knowledge, with unwavering dignity, its true wealth lying in the spirit of its people. This was the miracle Traoré created, more profound than merely stopping 47 trucks of death. He awakened 47 million minds, inspiring a new generation to embrace their destiny. Because in the end, the true victory was not in steel, but in spirit. And those hearts, once filled with fear, were now beating, vibrantly, passionately, for freedom, beating for justice, beating for Africa. And perhaps that is the question for all of us now, a profound introspection for a continent on the cusp of a new era. What kind of Africa do we choose to leave behind for future generations? One guarded by fear, shackled by external forces, or one guided by dignity, by self-determination, by unwavering hope? If this powerful story, this testament to resilience, touched something deep within you, if it ignited a spark of hope, we invite you to share your thoughts below. Your voice matters, for Africa's story is still being written, its narrative shaped by the collective actions of its people. Feel free to like, subscribe, and share this message with someone who still believes in hope, in the boundless potential of a continent rising. See you in the next story, as we continue to chronicle the unfolding narrative of a new Africa.